name is Lazarus Black, and this is going to be the first episode into a new channel called Whispers in the Well. Now, in this episode specifically, I'm simply going to be going over the things that this channel will be talking about. Right now, I'm sitting on my floor in front of my altar. As most heathens will tell you, the altar is one of the easiest places in the heathen's home to gather their thoughts and get out what is on their mind in a concise manner. So most of my episodes will be filmed right here. And sure, I'll probably do a video about my altar more in depth and what's on it, the things that are important to me in the future. But as of right now, I'm just going to lay out some of the things that I plan on talking about. This channel will definitely cover topics of racism, due to the fact that, especially in the heathen community, racism, bigotry, hate, and xenophobia are such prevalent issues in this worldview. And they are things that are not only misguided, but ahistorical. We will talk about the folkish people. Those are the ones, as I said, who believe that heathenry, or any terms of paganism for that matter, they are also included in Hellenist or Greek paganism, and also in Kemetic or Egyptian paganism. These are people who believe that your relationship with the gods has a tie to blood and soil, meaning that if your ancestors were not from that area, that you should not practice this religion. That's not true at all. I do believe that there are closed practices and that these should be kept sacred. But things like Slavic, Greek, Germanic, and Egyptian polytheism, or the belief in multiple gods, or paganism, are open practices and are for all who have been called by the gods. I will talk about my history of religion. I grew up in a very religious household. My father was a youth pastor and is now a worship leader for a church. My stepmother was also in the leadership of the church. So growing up in their household, Christianity was one of the things that was definitely ingrained into me. My mother, however, my biological mother, was very much about the idea of me expressing myself through my own beliefs. And I do believe that the path that she set me on is what brought me to find myself today in Germanic polytheism. One of the things that I will definitely cover will be separating culture from religion. Because while yes, I do practice the religion that the Vikings practiced, this is not a Viking religion. This religion was around far before the Viking era and the era of raiders, and has been around and survived far after the Viking era. Yes, we do know that the Vikings were a very strong and independent people, but what we also know is they had morals and certain things and certain tenets about their society that would simply not uphold today. These are not things that we wish to bring back. By attempting to reconstruct the religion, we are not attempting to reconstruct the culture. We do not believe in things like slavery, the feminizing of homosexuality, and the demeaning of women, placing women below men. What we do believe is that the Aesir, the Vanir, and the Jotun are all real, and they are all here, surrounding Midgard. Now there are two types of Norse pagans in general. There are pagans, and then there are atheopagans. Atheopagans simply believe that the deities in the sagas and in the myths and legends are not actual beings, but simply personality archetypes that we are meant to follow. While I do believe that there are certain personality traits between the deities that I follow that I should bring into my everyday life and I strive to do on a daily basis, I do believe that the deities do exist. I do believe that Odin, Thor, Freya, Frigg, Baldur, Bragi, Hel, and yes, even Loki are amongst us. And they do reside both on Midgard, in Jotunheim, and in Asgard. I do believe in Valhalla, Folkvanger, and the Helheim. No, I do not believe I am going to Valhalla. In this channel, I will try to explain these things to people who perhaps have a negative connotation of what paganism is, because I do believe that that is something that has stuck around since the Satanic Panic era of the 1980s and 1990s, when Wicca and general paganism and Celtic paganism were tied in to a bastardized form and a fear-mongering form of satanic worship that came around in the 80s and 90s. This was not and does not even hold the true tenets of Satanism in itself, let alone paganism. We are not devil worshippers. We are not Satan worshippers. And we are not atheists. Personally, I do believe in the existence of the Judeo-Christian God. I simply do not uphold the idea of worshiping him based on simple moral disagreements with the biblical teaching of that God. I will also talk about references and where you can find things that might help you along your journey of either understanding or following Norse paganism. Feel free to ask me any questions you want in the comments, or perhaps even if you know me on Facebook, feel free to shoot me a message and ask me a question. Do not be surprised, however, if you are following the path of heathenry, or of any paganism for that matter, and instead of answering your question outright, I simply send you a link or a reference that you could answer your question for yourself. Because I believe that just as Odin hung from Yggdrasil for 9 days with a spear through his chest as a sacrifice of himself to himself in the path of knowledge, that we must also seek our own wisdom. It being given to us makes that wisdom mean so much less. That is why you take for granted some of the knowledge that you have had since you were a child. But some of the things that you yourself took time to research mean the most to you. Even if that be useless trivia for movies or video games, skateboard tricks, guitar tablature, it doesn't matter. Because if you wanted to research it, you put in the time and effort, and therefore it was more rewarding and stuck with you for longer. I will talk about deities, obviously. I will talk about Thor. I will talk about Odin, Freya, Frigg, Baldur, Bragi, Hel, Loki, Finrod, Jormungandr. I will talk about the deities that you perhaps don't know as well as you should. Things like Ran, not Ron, Ran, which is R-A-N, a deity of the sea. I will also talk about Reishvelger. I will also talk about deities like Jord and Nord. I will explain to you how these deities came up through history and their significance to the people of the eras. So please, if you are excited for this, hit the subscribe button, maybe leave me a comment asking a future question, and I might even answer it in a future video. And if you do have a family member who maybe doesn't understand paganism, like perhaps if you are a pagan who is simply not out of the broom closet yet, and you want to explain to that family member what paganism actually is, maybe send them a link to this channel. I am completely accepting of open-minded Christians and non-pagans following this channel as a way to learn. What I do not want is for this to turn into a religious debate about which religion is right and which religion is the actual path that humans are meant to follow. So please, share this video and follow along on my journey as we listen to the whispers of the well.